Welcome to the Inner Space Podcast. I'm Nisha, therapist, coach, and guide for women ready to step into deeper self-worth and wholeness. This is the space where we unravel identity, healing, and relationships with raw, grounded conversations that go beneath the surface. Together, we'll explore the roots of your anxiety, depression, trauma, self-worth, and relationship patterns, and uncover the truths that help you reconnect with yourself, trust your voice, and find the freedom to live fully. Today, we are diving in deep into a topic that touches so many of us, especially as women: individualization. And this is about having autonomy. It's about having independence. It's about having freedom, especially when you've never really had that before. Or maybe you've had it for a while and made a decision that suddenly didn't go as planned, and now you've stopped trusting yourself. Maybe out of all of the 100 good decisions you made, there was one that didn't pan out so well. And now because of this, you stopped trusting yourself. You stopped trusting your intuition, and perhaps even your own freedom. Maybe second guessing yourself. Maybe without realizing it, handing your power back over to somebody else. Maybe a partner, parents, siblings. Perhaps telling yourself that maybe I can't handle it, maybe I can't trust myself again. And today's episode is about claiming that sovereignty, breaking free from enmeshment, over-reliance, and self-doubt, learning to validate ourselves internally, and most importantly, learning to be there for ourselves in ways that no one else ever was. Many of us grew up in environments where our choices weren't fully ours. Maybe we were told what we had to study, who to be friends with, what was acceptable, who to marry, how to live. Perhaps we were told that our feelings or opinions didn't matter if we tried to share them, or maybe we weren't even given the opportunity to share them. Perhaps parents didn't trust us, and so reason would have it that if they wouldn't trust us, then how could we trust ourselves? Furthermore, when our parents couldn't meet our emotional needs, when they weren't able to soothe us, protect us, and validate us, we learned to disconnect from our own needs, learning to look outward instead of inwards, seeking external validation instead of being able to internally validate ourselves. And for adults, that plays out as feeling paralyzed when we have to make a decision, perhaps overthinking every choice, needing endless validation, needing endless reassurance, perhaps becoming hyper-independent, or maybe refusing support, but secretly doubting ourselves deeply. Perhaps staying enmeshed with families, siblings, partners, parents, because we don't know where we end and where they begin. And underneath it all, we never really learn, because we were never taught, how to stand by ourselves when we're triggered, when we're hurting, or when we feel things very deeply. The truth is that until we learn how to validate ourselves internally, until we learn how to emotionally regulate ourselves, we will always chase the safety outside of us. And this is a huge part of reparenting. Learning to show up for ourselves in the very moments that our parents couldn't. When we feel small, scared, rejected, triggered, instead of abandoning ourselves. It's important to pause, to speak to yourself with compassion and understanding, and say to yourself that I see you, I hear you, asking that part, what do you need right now? How can you reassure that part? Perhaps through safety, rest, comfort, boundaries. And that's reparenting. That's learning to give yourself the care that you longed for, that unmet need, but it was never received. And now you get to do that. And every time you do, you change the pattern and you show your nervous system, this time things are different. This time I'm here for me. I recently recorded an episode around anxiety and parts work. I'd recommend you listen to that if this speaks to you now. It goes into depth about how to sit with yourself, having compassionate inquiry, being able to explore the unmet needs within you, and how to yourself finally meet these needs. Take a moment to ask yourself, what would it look like if I chose to be there for myself in the way that I needed to be. Now, who is the self within us that we're learning to trust? It's the deeper self. The deeper self is a part of you that can hold those wounded parts with love. It's the kind, compassionate person within you. The part of you that knows, I may not have had what I needed then, but I can give it to myself. I know what I need, and I trust myself to give it to me. There's a fantastic book by Clarissa Pinkola Estes. The book is Women Who Run with the Wolves, and she talks a lot about this. I'd highly recommend this book. It's an incredible journey about the heroine's journey, about the things that as young women we're not told, but are so important in keeping us safe. To ask the questions, to inquire more, to be curious about things for our own safety, judgment, our betterment. And within it, she talks about this wild woman archetype, the one who stands even when she's afraid, who asks the questions even if there are answers that she doesn't want to hear, the one that even when her voice shakes and she's afraid, she still speaks her truth because she honors who she is. She honors herself, her truth, her authenticity. It's interesting because this idea of being sovereign and having your own sense of self is something that I've seen cropping up a lot recently. There's been a lot of signs and synchronicities around this from the clients I've spoken to, the things I've seen online. And then it came up again in a book I was reading over the weekend. And the book is If Women Rose Rooted by Sharon Blackie. And it's an interesting book, akin to that of Women Who Run with the Wolves. Within the book, there's a story, and a question within that story is around what a woman wants most. What does she crave the most? What does she need the most? Aside from things outside of herself. So aside from the children being kept safe or not having any worries about finances or relationships or anything like that, but within herself, what is the most important thing to a woman? And so here is a short version of that story. A woman called Lady Ragnell appears as an old, ugly woman who asks a knight to marry her in order to save a kingdom. And the knight is horrified, given her outward appearance, but eventually agrees, mostly to avoid punishment. On their wedding night, Lady Ragnell gives the knight a choice. He can have her as she outwardly appears, old, ugly, having scaly skin, one long tooth that reaches down past her chin and one long tooth that reaches up towards her nose. But she gives him the choice of whether she is the hag during the day or this beautiful princess at night, or whether she is the princess during the day and this old, ugly hag at night. The knight takes his time, he thinks it over, and rather than deciding for her, he gives her control over the decision. And when this knight allows her to have sovereignty, to let her make the choice for herself, Lady Ragnell transforms into a beautiful, powerful, wise woman. But the key theme within this is that the sovereignty and autonomy cannot be given. They must be claimed and respected. And true power comes from self-trust and the freedom to make our own decisions. Outer appearances, social norms, or expectations do not determine our inner worth and value. Self-sovereignty does. Just as Lady Ragnell claims the right to make her own choice, I encourage you to claim your own power and autonomy, regardless of the things that you've experienced, to be able to trust yourself, especially after past mistakes or previous unmet needs. This is your version, allowing yourself to be fully sovereign, just as Lady Ragnall in the story does. And that when we trust ourselves as women, we're able to transform our lives. This speaks around that wild woman energy, that archetype, rather than seeking that external validation. The pressure that many women feel to gain approval, to avoid conflict, or to follow other people's rules instead of trusting themselves. When you're able to trust yourself, you're able to transform, change things for yourself as well. Not only how you see yourself, but the choices you make, your self-worth and your value. This wild woman archetype that is within all of us, but it's about giving her that power back, giving her that right, that freedom to choose and decide differently. And this is the part that has such a longing, a yearning to be sovereign, to have the autonomy of herself, to not have to wait for permission from other people if she's allowed to do this, if they deem it appropriate, if they deem it okay, if they give permission or they sanction it. This is the part that says I don't have to wait for permission. I know what I need and I trust myself to give it to myself, however that looks for big things and the small things as well. Now, I know that trusting ourselves feels scary, especially because we've been here before. We trusted, we chose, we believed, and maybe it ended badly. Maybe it hurt, maybe left us feeling guilty and ashamed. But now we hesitate. What if I can't trust myself again? What if I mess it up again? But here's the truth. You're not the same person that you were back then. Even if the wounds feel familiar, even if the fears sound the same, you're not the same. Because now you have the ability to choose differently this time. You have the ability to reparent yourself through the pain. Even if a mistake that you made happened when you were an adult, you're not that same person again. You can become the safety that you seek. You can catch the trigger, hold that wound, meet the unmet needs. You're no longer that powerless person or child waiting for someone else to save you. The landscape is different now, and your ability to handle that and what comes next is different too. Now, this is really important when we talk about sovereignty. It's not about being in isolation. It's not about being alone or being so fiercely independent that you don't need anyone else. It's not about rejecting people or doing everything by yourself. Sovereignty is about being able to stand in your truth and still choose connection, not from fear or need, but from freedom. When we can say that I choose to be here, I don't need to be here to feel whole. That's sovereignty, that's growth, and that's the healing. Perhaps taking a moment now to pause and ask yourself, where in my life am I still outsourcing my sense of safety? And what would it look like to be able to seek that internally for myself? Here are some practical ways to be able to cultivate that sense of self-trust and reparenting. Small in the micro details. Perhaps things as simple as deciding what you want to eat, how you want to spend your time. Also being able to back yourself on any decisions you make, not always needing to seek external approval or validation for a decision that you've made. Catch the old loop. When you're about to chase someone else's approval, pause and ask yourself, what do I think? What do I need? Does it fit my needs? Don't be afraid to have needs. Don't be afraid to speak up for what you want. Even if it's something as simple as deciding what to eat. It's in these small steps that you begin to come back to yourself, to speak your truth, to honor your needs. Next, we look at reparenting check-ins. When you're triggered, instead of spiraling, pause and ask yourself, what do you need from me right now? And then give yourself that, whether you feel it's a need from your younger self, maybe soothing words or rest, or setting a boundary. Remembering that inner validation is a ritual. The more you do it, the more you keep coming back to yourself, the stronger it will be. Perhaps each night or in the morning, name one thing that you did for yourself that day or the day before that made you feel proud. Let your body feel it. Allow yourself to smile. Doesn't matter how small it is. It's within that the growth happens. Give yourself credit for making a different choice, for choosing something else. Even if your mind, your body, even if your nervous system says, no, don't do it. But you did it, you take the step, and it pays off. Remember what it feels like to be able to trust yourself again. Now, this individualization is not easy. It means breaking free from patterns of dependency and perhaps enmeshment that once felt like safety. But it's also the path to freedom, to becoming your own anchor, and to finally trusting yourself. When you can say that I'm here for me, no matter what. I can meet my needs, I can hold my pain. I trust myself to navigate what comes. That's sovereignty. That's the wild woman alive within you, and it's the new landscape that you get to walk in. So I'll leave you with this. What would change in your life if you fully trusted yourself again? Thank you for being here with me today, and if any of this resonated, share it with someone who needs that reminder too, of self-trust and sovereignty. And remember that things are different this time, because you're different this time. You are not alone. You have yourself. Trust in yourself and believe in yourself that you can handle this. Until next time, take care of your inner space, and I'll meet you in our next episode.